Hey everybody, welcome to the dotCMS Spring Product Update webinar. My name is Todd Bennett. I'm VP of Marketing at dotCMS and I'm moderating today. And joining me is Will Ezell, Chief Technology Officer of dotCMS. We've got a lot to share, so we want to get right to it. But before we do, just a couple of housekeeping items. The presentation will last about 30 minutes with a brief Q&A to follow. So if you have questions along the way, we encourage you to put those in the chat, and we'll be sure to answer all of them at the end. And as always, the webinar is being recorded, and I'll be sending out a link to that recording to all of you shortly after we conclude. So with that, we're ready to get started. Will, take it away.
Thank you, Todd. Welcome, everyone. This is dotCMS's Spring Update for 2022. I've entitled this Slide Deck Growing Season, and not the least of reasons being that it's actually spring up here in New England. It's been a long time coming, so that's always a happy time. But I want to talk today about dotCMS both from a product and company perspective, and talk about some of the initiatives that we've taken on over this past 6 months or so. My name is Will Ezell, and I'm the Chief Technology Officer and co-founder of dotCMS. Enough said there. But before I begin talking about what's coming in the product, I do want to talk about some of the happenings that's happening at dotCMS, the company. Most of you all know that dotCMS was acquired at the end of last September, and since that acquisition, things have been going really, really nicely. 2021, it turns out, was our best year yet, and currently 2022 is on track. By all our KPIs and metrics are on track to beat it, and that's not just in terms of revenue, but that's also in terms of customer satisfaction, product delivery. Basically, all the metrics that we track are looking really positive. We've also spent the past 6 months staffing up. We've hired a new marketing director, Todd Bennett. Thank you, Todd. HR directors, product manager, a technical documentation writer, a customer success professional, support engineers, and developers. Now, there's going to be more staffing up to come, but I think it's important for everyone to know that these individuals are coming in and pulling weight really on day one. dotCMS was pretty thin before the acquisition, and I think these are positions that needed filling for a while. And then finally, and this is my favorite bullet point on this slide, is that we're a happy family, and since the acquisition, I think we've had 100% employee retention. And that's a goal that we intend to try to keep. Obviously, things happen in the professional world, but happy employees is an important part of our strategy and our corporate values. So, and again, before I kick off on talking about the product itself and what's coming, I do want to talk about the work we've done with regard to product management in the software. We've done a lot of work as a company over the past 4 months, working on sharpening our product focus. This is road to our roadmap, and we have a new product management tool called Product Board, which we brain dumped all the features that we've contemplated over the years, that we've dumped, things that we've heard from customers, and what Product Board allows you to do is to take all these inputs, dump it in kind of a controlled way, and then you can go through and score and prioritize these features using a lot of different methodologies. We chose the RICE methodology, and RICE is short for Reach, Impact, Confidence, and Effort. So every feature or epic even that we put in here, we said, okay, what percentage of our customers is this going to affect? How big is the impact going to be that the new feature would have? What's our confidence in those two numbers, and what's the level of effort that it's going to take in order to fulfill that feature? And so really with those numbers, we took that list and also dropped them into what we call 3 different buckets, right? Innovation, which would be new features or charting new territory with the software, iteration, which is improving the software as it is, and then operation, which is taking on technical debt or some kind of core engineering requests. And the outcome of this process, it's still in process. I mean, we just dumped and scored these features. I think we finished that 2 weeks ago. But what the outcome that we're going to be excited to share is really an outcome-based roadmap where we're going to talk about, outcomes using the product and then tell the story of the features that are going to help get us there, right? So it's a much more mature methodology than we've been using, and we will have more roadmap information to come. Then, product board can generate an internally facing roadmap that we can share within the company to get us all aligned, and also an externally facing roadmap that we can share with our users and community. But yeah, there is more to come here, but a lot of work is going in really in the process of product management, which I think is really good news. I did want to share also that because product board acts as a filter for new product ideas that come in from all different channels, we've set up this email called productfeedback@dotCMS.com. If you have a want or a wish in the product, or you have a good idea for the product, you can send an email to that email address, and product board will ingest it, and we can take that and we'll score that and place that, in that, and prioritize that in the feature list as well. So that's I think an important. We'd really like to hear from the community and our users to help us select the right features that we're going to be developing moving forward. So I want to reiterate our themes, our product themes, and I think that these ideas really kind of inform and drive our product vision. You can see here they're scalability and security, right? So, enterprise-grade scalability, highly secure software, very, very important to us. Hybrid and headless capabilities. So we are a hybrid content management system, and that means that we play well both in traditional content management roles. We also play well in headless content management roles, and we're continuing to add features to help us achieve that. Third theme is developer agility. dotCMS, it's easy to get moving forward really quickly, and that agility is something that we want to empower. And then finally, user experience and UI. I think it's critical for us to maintain and update our UI and keep that looking fresh and modern, so people want to engage with the tool and use the tool to manage their content and their digital experiences. So that said, let me jump to the product itself. I want to talk a little bit about, before we look future forward, I want to talk about 2203, which is the brand new LTS version that we released last month, or a month and a half ago. There are a lot of nice things about 2203 that I want to share. Some of them just, demonstrate what that looks like. Things like drag and drop page building. That allows you to quickly build a page and reuse content elements to populate that page. It's a very nice, new feature. I think it's going to change the way that editors interact with the system. JSON-based content. So content's now stored as JSON in the database, and this means that the field limitations that plagued older dotCMS versions are gone. There's unlimited fields, and they can be structured in just about any way. Content search results have been improved. We now have thumbnails, and all the different content types have icons to kind of indicate what content types they are. A small UI thing, but I think it's important when you're looking at a big list of content to select the one you want to edit. CI/CD scripts, so these are available in dotCMS. They're on the GitHub repo, but these are scripts. It's a bash script. It's written to be as accessible as possible, and you can use that to build CI/CD pipelines for your code and configuration, things like sites, content types, widgets, containers, templates, VTLs. All of that can be dropped into a Git a versionable repo, and as changes are made to that repo, they can flow through to dotCMS. Redis caching and Redis pub sub are now built into the tool, And this is important because, in scaling dotCMS installations up and down, one challenge that we've had is the cold start, right? dotCMS has a lot of caching and can perform really well, but that cache has got to get populated, and that takes some time. And images can, from a cold start, can take a while to warm up. Well, what Redis caching does is it's a second layer cache offsite, so that when your dotCMS, when your pods are scaling up and down, a new pod comes online, dotCMS can pick up and won't have to start from such a cold position, would be able to get up to speed and perform better just really instantly. Shenandoah GC. Shenandoah, the GC is short for garbage collection. This is really an important one. It reduced the memory requirements. We've seen it reduce the memory requirements of a dotCMS installation by half. Shenandoah is a pauseless garbage collector. Before, the garbage collector would do what's called stop the world garbage collection, which would inject pauses while Java cleaned up the garbage collection. Shenandoah just does that in the background. And also, and most importantly, when you're running a containerized version of dotCMS, Shenandoah actually releases unused memory back to your container runner, back to Kubernetes or to the node that's running, and that allows you to really add more density, more dotCMS instances to a single node. So it's been really a positive component. I believe we've backported that to the 2106 LTS, but I would suggest that anyone who's running that 2106 take a look and see whether the Shenandoah makes a difference in the memory that's being consumed by the dotCMS containers. So there's a link here to read more. I'll just leave that there. But I do want to talk about the content palette with drag and drop, and I want to talk about it and just really kind of demonstrate it. Let me go to the demo site. Okay, so this is the dotCMS demo site, and I can add a new page, right? So this is going to be my new page. New page. It's going to give me a URL, pick a template, pretty basic. It gives us an empty page, right? But what the drag and drop does is it replaces the old content drop down here and the searching that, the pop-up modal that used to happen. And instead, what it allows you to do is do things like, I want to drop a banner on this page, and I can say, okay, let's drop Costa Rica. And I want to drop a new, let's say, a blog on this page, or a rich text. So we can say, okay, here's a new text. This is Costa Rica. Looks beautiful, right? And it's going to drop that right on the page, right? And this combined with like the layout editing, the ability to add new layouts. So we can say, all right, we're going to drop this here, and we're going to add a new layout here. Do the default container. Save that. Come back to the page. You now have your containers and can drop those, drag and drop content right into those as well. Let's see, let's drop a call to action. Swell time to book. Yeah, and so it really does make page building really, really easy, and it really kind of changes the flow of editing content and editing pages within dotCMS itself. There's a number of different Agile improvements. Things like being able to set the default language from the UI. Previously, you had to set this in a configuration variable before your initial startup, which was real painful. If you already had a site, built out, now you can just do it right from the UI. Secure password generator. So when you're adding a new user, there's a button there that just says generate a secure password, which will generate an unguessable password. Unguessable as of now in 2022. Guessable probably in 6 months from now, but no, it's a 16-character password. Rule-based URL rewrites. This is important. Rules are a really powerful feature in dotCMS, and the ability to intercept requests and inject headers or rewrites or things like that within them is something that we've been asked for a different number of times. email delivery tester. You can send a test email to your support or the email address on record that dotCMS has in the company portlet. And headless widget support. So this is the idea that widgets works both. If you have a widget piece of content, it can both generate a HTML, but it can also generate a JSON representation of the content within that widget itself. So just a number of ongoing improvements to the software. These just continually are happening now with our Agile releases, and these are all in 2203. Another new real product that we're rolling out, and we're in the initial stages of rolling this out, but enterprise level cloud SPA hosting. Now, if you're running headless sites, there's and especially content-driven headless sites, there's a challenge, just like there would be, with traditional sites of where you're going to host these SPA sites. And so what we've done is we've leveraged Amazon's AWS Amplify product. I don't know, we were going to call it Dotlify, but that's silly. Basically, we're using AWS Amplify, and you can connect it to your SPA Git repo, and as you check in, the CI/CD process, as you check into different branches, your dev branch, your UAT, your prod branch, those automatically get rebuilt and redeployed on Amplify, and you can front that with the CDN with dotCDN. And this is dotCDN, a high-performance CDN with POPs all over the world, in every continent, well, except Antarctica, but and can deliver entire sites statically. And you can see this actually www.dotcms.com is behind dotCDN, and we're real happy with the performance ourselves. But the important piece here is that if your SPA is reading and writing from dotCMS, you can use Edit Mode Anywhere to be able to visually edit and lay out pages just like I was showing you. All those tools that I was just showing you with the drag and drop, and those all work even in headless environments. But when you publish content, dotCMS is automatically going to invalidate the CDN. So if you publish a new blog, that blog will automatically be updated. If you publish a new page or a new piece of content that's living on a page, then that piece of content's automatically, the page is automatically going to get invalidated in the CDN. And so this gives really a nice flow. Your content editors can just proceed as normal, while really your site's being delivered up on a static basis, even though they're visually managing pages, laying out pages, managing content, publishing pages, and new sections. All of that's going to be, happening behind the covers, all the CDN and the SPA build out and delivery. So it will really act like a traditional site. So that's where we're at. That brings us up to current day. And talking about what's next, 2205. Now we missed 2204. We were working to get the 2203 LTS out. But 2205, which is going to be the next Agile release, contains the block content editor. And I want to jump in and show you a bit about what the block content editor looks like. This is something that we've been talking about for 2 years, and it's really a new type of field that's going to store WYSIWYG-like content, but it's going to store it as JSON. So it's consumable from a headless perspective. Headless, headless implementations can consume that and deliver that. They don't have to, do anything like with inner HTML or inject HTML, unsafe HTML into your SPA, and you can format it just like anything else, right? And it really allows for stories. The idea in dotCMS, I think the one important capability that differentiates this is the idea that you can drop within your block, you can drop other pieces of content, you can drop widgets, and those become blocks themselves that you can drag and drop. And the nice thing about the block content editor is it doesn't just work on single page apps. It works. We've built out a more traditional delivery of that. You can just begin to use it within your if your velocity pages, right? And it also is the groundwork for future collaborative editing, which is the holy grail where we're going. So let me jump to my local environment and show what the block editor looks like. So our new starter is going to be using the block editor here for blogs. Let me go to blogs. And am I even running? I am not. Give me 1 second while I fire up dotCMS. Okay, we're back. And coming to my local environment to blogs, we've re-implemented the blogs, as I was saying, with the block editor. And you can see here, the block editor looks a little different than the WYSIWYG, but basically is going to show you options as you select the text or the content that you want to style. But the nice thing about a block editor is that each of these is a block which can be edited and reordered by itself, right? And so let me just share what creating a new piece of content looks like using the block editor. If I create a new blog, we're going to say where to eat in Costa Rica. I have this pre-filled content here, and I can just cut and paste. So let me just cut and paste. And then you can see here I'm just cutting and pasting from Google Doc, but the block editor does a nice job with regard to cutting and pasting content. It basically will throw away any formatting that it doesn't know about. But again, it takes what's there and makes each of them into a block, right? And so, for example, if I want to make this a heading, I can do that. If I want to, let's say, add a, let me add, for example, I'm going to add a, right here under La Carreta, I'm going to add an image, and I can just drag an image from my desktop onto the blog, and it's going to drop the image in line there. If I want to do that again, right, and you can just drop these images right in line in between these blocks. You can say, let's drop that one. These are pretty images. And maybe I want to add an image for the, let's do yummy drink. Hit save and publish, right? And what that looks like online, or I'm sorry, what it looks like on the front end is if you come to our travel blog, we now have a new blog entry, where to eat in Costa Rica, right? And basically each of those blocks are getting pulled in. We're iterating over the list of the blocks and formatting them appropriately on the front end of dotCMS. And makes it very easy to manage content, basically story-like content. But the real beauty of the block editor is where we're going with the ability to embed content within content, right? So for example, if I come down here, I can say, okay, I want to add a content in here, and I'm going to add, in this case, let's call it a product, and let's add these products don't quite fit, but we're going to add a bathing suit. We're going to also add, and these are, all I'm doing is picking content from the content repository and dropping that in line. Let's add a mask for going to Costa Rica, right? And this can be products you might Costa Rica. And I'm going to make that into a heading 3 and save and publish this. Now when I come to the front end, you can see scrolling down to the end, it's dropping those pieces of content in line in the JSON for the block, right? So it's acting almost like a relationship field for those of you familiar with how relationships are used. But you can, within a given block of content, pick and drop content into the block. You can drop widgets into the block. So I could do, if I wanted to drop a YouTube video, and I don't have this widget set up, but if I wanted to drop a YouTube video, I would come here and say, I'm going to drop an image, or I'm going to drop a photo gallery. And if you have those blocks set up, if you have the components for those blocks written, it's going to be able to format those in line. So we've already started using this to implement different POCs. It's actually super powerful. But it really makes the idea of editing content much, much easier, generates really clean HTML, strips out any of, any tags, and gives a developer really complete control over how a WYSIWYG, in all intents and purposes, a WYSIWYG styled content, how it's formatted in the presentation layer, right? And this works both traditionally and also headlessly with SPAs, et cetera. So this is our first shot at the block editor. We're going to be, there's a phase 2, phase 3. This is something that we're going to be building into future forward and just continuing to make this. Ultimately, I do see this replacing our WYSIWYG. It's not going to happen immediately, and we might still keep the WYSIWYG around, kick it when it's down. But this is a much more elegant way to manage content and to manage, stylized content within a content management system. So other upcoming niceties, and these are coming in, 21 or 2206, 2207. Things like copying of content types. So the idea is that you can come, and this might actually come before 2206, but the idea is that right from a content type, if I like a blog, I can say copy. I can give it, stories. And it's going to go ahead and take that entire content type behind the scenes and create a new content type based on it, including keeps all the layout information, all of that. That's going to be a really nice time-saving feature, also available, obviously, via API. Pre-render.io support. This is something that if your site is using client-side technology to render, what pre-render does is it basically intercepts, it sees when a Google's crawling your site, it will intercept that Google request and deliver to Google a pre-rendered version of your client-side rendered page. So that's really valuable for SEO. A lot of times when crawlers hit your site and it's all client-side rendered, it looks like nothing's there to them. It looks like a bunch of code. What pre-render does is it actually hydrates the entire page and delivers that back to the SEO crawlers. So it's really important when SEO's of extreme importance to everyone, pre-render really optimizes that from a client perspective. Key value fields, you can now limit what the keys are available and limit what the values are available. So you can give people kind of a pick list of what they can use with the key value field. That's nice if you're trying to standardize on specs. In a spec sheet that you're selling TVs and it has, inches and technology or different, different technology or inputs or whatever, that you can standardize that and force instead of just free form text there. Filtering the log output, so now you can tail the logs in dotCMS, but you can also now filter that, and it'll highlight both where that term that you're looking for, and we'll filter and only show you matching log entries. And just a nice small thing is we have the idea of unique fields in dotCMS. You can set a unique field to be unique per site. So a good example of that is in a blog you have a slug or a URL map field. Instead of making that unique system-wide, you can have two sites that have the same slug, but they're going to be pointing to different pieces of content. In progress right now, we've been talking about it for years, but this is actually moving forward, which is very, very exciting, is the idea of experiments, analytics, and capturing and recording and reporting on events, things like page views or conversions within the tool itself, right? So our idea for experiments are really page-based experiments, so you'll be able to create variants of a given page and in using a variety of different algorithms, deliver some of your traffic, portions of your traffic to variant A or variant B or variant C, be able to measure which ones of those, which variants are most effective on conversions. So just the ability to create experiments. And the idea of putting it on a page, I think, is we have personalization at the kind of at the container level, which I think is really nice. You can personalize different areas of your page, but page-based experiments in our world gives you the ability to say, okay, well, I have a personalized version of a page, a personalized variant that'll respond to, incoming data about our users, but I also have a non-personalized. Is it really is my personalized page outperforming or generating more conversions than my non-personalized page? So it just gives you ultimate flexibility in terms of building out your experiment. It's going to be headless first, so we will build it in traditionally, but there will be some JavaScript that would need to be added to pages in order for it to run out of the box. And we're building out the data pipeline currently, right? So this is, a big data store. This data store right now is currently residing in the U.S., but we anticipate having European-only data stores, and not having any way to move that data back to the United States just for data sovereignty purposes. And we're also going to give you the ability to track and record custom events, meaning like, okay, so how many people have clicked on our download now button, or how many people have visited a given page, or how many people have spent more than 3 minutes on a given page, and be able to kind of use those events and track and record those, and use those events really within your experiments itself. Another big portion, this is a big portion of our site, is to revamp the content search and editing screen. And let me jump and I'll show you what our mock-ups look like. Give me 1 second. So this is a mock-up that we've put together of what the listing content search page can look like. And you can see, I think the idea is that each of the views within the content listing search page is actually just a saved search and view. So the idea here is we can search for images, and it's going to go ahead and pull the images, or coming back to the content search, it could do a content listing just like we would normally. We're going to, I know that right now we have the idea of the browser separate from the idea of content search. I think that we're looking at collapsing those, but doing so in a way that's not going to cause confusion. And I think with the saved searches, that'll allow us to really kind of keep them separate if you still want to keep them separate. But from any given kind of content search screen, you can click on the browser view and browse the content by a particular folder, and be able to do things like if you click into a folder, it's going to show the folders up here, really mirroring best of breed Google Drive type looks and feels. We're in losing this left bar over here, that gives us a lot of real estate as well. Content searches now would be done here, so you can click through, and this will be the options for your given content search. Queries, I think, this isn't quite right. They're going to look like chips or tags there, but you can also do things like multi-select, a number of different rows, show the workflow actions that are available on the given row, and coming back to different content types, coming back to the browser view, even from here to be able to drag and drop content right within a given folder. That's something that's going to be really important for us here future forward. And in the content, the different assets would get imported asynchronously really in the background. So this is the start. The next big component that we're going to take on after this, I think from a UI UX perspective, is the edit content screen. Now there's going to be challenges there, I think, because most of our customers use what are called custom fields, but I think we have a strategy to be able to use custom fields even in a Angular-driven backend, sort of single-page app backend. So this is us really pushing forward and trying to make our kind of unify our content search and give a view that makes sense into the site browser, because the issue with this current site browser is that while it shows files and it shows HTML pages, there can be content under those folders as well. And when a folder is deleted, that actually would delete the content underneath it, and there's no indication as to whether or not that's happening right now on the current site browser. So those are all pain points that we're looking to improve. And bottom line is it's going to be much faster and much more responsive as a single page app. And finally, I want to end with some outputs from Product Board. There's a kind of recurring themes that we've seen on Product Board. None of these are roadmap promises, but these are things that we keep hearing about and score fairly highly in our RICE scoring methodology. Things like self-service environments, the ability to spin up a new dotCMS instance, the ability even to come online, set up an account, and fire up a demo site or a clean dotCMS install in the cloud, and that's pushing us really cloud forward there. Simplifying workflows, getting rid of the lock and unlock. Not that we would get rid of it, but they would. Right now, they're sort of mandatory in every workflow. Those buttons display, but there's many places, many more places I think where you don't want to have to lock and unlock, as that slows down sort of the content velocity. And doing that is going to allow us to do things like a content Kanban boards where you can drag and drop content, show content in a board-like project, and move content from left to right as that content gets published or pushed out as part of a larger project. Security, two-step login, think where you log into dotCMS and you get a notification in your email box saying, someone's logged in your account. Is this you? Where you'd have to click on that email link and register whatever the computer is that you're logging in with as a trusted device. This is just securities of primary importance to us, and we just want to make dotCMS as secure as possible. Obviously, the best way to do that is to integrate with an SSO provider, but this is for native dotCMS logins. Bulk tagging of content, to be able to go to that content screen here, bulk tag, click multiple pieces of content, and say, okay, tag these content as any given tag, or untag them. Really be able to use, and I think tagging is going to be pushed up in importance to us in our system as tags. All content actually right now even can be tagged under the covers, and tagging is just going to become much more important in searching content within the back end. Importing and uploading content from multiple sources, and this is things like Google Drive. When uploading content into dotCMS, perhaps you're given a selection. I want to import from Facebook, or I want to import from Instagram, or I want to import from my Google Drive, and you can go and authenticate against them and allow dotCMS to read that content and select the content you want to import and just import that right into dotCMS. And then finally, Git integration, and this is really empowering developers. We do have the CI/CD actions. We need to tie that all together into really a solution that doesn't take developer grease to get plugged in. And so the idea is there, as you register, the Git repo and the credentials, and dotCMS will maintain, a checked out copy of that Git, and we'll use that to update templates or VTLs or content types or things that make up your site. So this is coming out of Product Board. This is coming out of the work effort that we did in Product Board. And, this just a highlight, and none of these are promises, and we're still going back and calibrating our Product Board decisioneering, and we'll be, continuing to push the product forward in really new and exciting ways. And so with that, I want to thank everyone for sitting through the webinar, and I'm available. Hang on the line and be available for any questions that you all might have. Great, everyone. Thanks, everyone.